And I guess the thing that motivated me to come this year was when I went to Baltimore 2 years ago, and I thought, this was great. I got to try it again. So I went to Loveland, Colorado last year, and I think I'm hooked because every year has been great and lots of things to take back to the classroom. And I guess one other thing that motivated me was the scholarship opportunity. Now, did I think I'd get it? I never win anything. So I thought, it won't hurt. So I took a little extra time and wrote it out, and I was told by our state contact at a reading conference I was at, I know something you don't know. Do you remember that? Yeah. And when I got home, I had the email that I had got the scholarship. So don't think that you can't do it when you can.
I actually did a speaking engagement for the Farm Bureau last winter on a trip that I did to China with the Minnesota soybean growers See for Yourself tour. They came in and they wanted to tell me, they wanted me to tell them about my experience there. And while we were there, then they said, how about you go to this conference, this Ag in the Classroom? You're a big proponent. You talk about it in your class all the time. You work with agriculture. You're involved with it. And in fact, we'll send you there to it. And I said, that's a good deal. I will go. And I'm glad that they wanted me to go to this thing. It's been fun.
And the reason I came to the conference, I'm actually a first-time attendee, and I was excited to come to the conference because teaching in inner city schools, you don't really hear a lot about farming and agriculture, and that's why I wanted to come to the conference to see what things that I can bring back to teach inner city schools where kids live in apartments and they take the bus to school or they walk, and there's just apartments and you don't really see anything that's related to farming or agriculture. And then when I came to the conference, actually was really surprised the things that I'm going to be implementing. I went to 2 really great workshops, one with Cindy Hall, and it was a Minute to Win It, and it was really fun, kinesthetic, and as an 8th grade teacher, that's what you need. Kids like to be up and moving, they like to be touching and using manipulatives, but then you want to relate it to the content, and so that's where the information comes in with the Minute to Win It, a workshop. A second workshop I went to was with Sue Knott, and it was Tricks and Treats. And again, it's about team building. A lot of times in 8th grade, you need kids to start working together and be collaborative and to start building those structures of how do you communicate with someone, how do you convey information, and working towards a common goal. So
for me, it was actually the first speaker that we had, Chris Peterson, actually read from her excerpt from her book. And she also mentioned the fact that the wonder. In agriculture, there has to be wonder. And leaving there, I was kind of pondering those words. In the very next workshop that I went to with Craig Wilson, very motivated young man that he was out there kind of getting everybody fired up about learning. And he mentioned that same word again, in wonder. And that's one of the things that I really want to bring back and re-emphasize, is really to make kids wonder in the classroom. I think that's a good motivator to get them to question, to go after those higher level thinking skills that we're all responsible for, targeting the kids with. It's just that whole sense of wonder that I'm going to bring back and really give my kids.
Actually, it's a question I asked myself as a student. I'd go in there and like, why do we have to learn this? And the reason we have to learn is because it has a real application. But if we don't show kids how it has a real application, then it really means nothing to them. So what I really like about this conference is when I go into a workshop and I can see how something's contextualized. So first workshop I went to was the California workshop that we made some salad dressing. And you're like, oh, we're going to make some salad dressing. That sounds like business and marketing. Yes, it is definitely business and marketing. But there was a whole STEM connection there, and there was a whole career connection there. And I thought, that is a great idea. I'm going to take that back. I'm going to plug that into my career in tech ed and business applications for CTE because it connects the dots, not just between a business, but because of all the technology involved in getting that product to market.
I really like this activity where the students are going to be building structures. As a science teacher, right now we do like motion and forces in the 8th grade, so we built a roller coaster. And then I was getting some new ideas like, okay, maybe you can use like the marshmallows and the dry spaghetti and you can build structure. Anything can be used, like the simple like household items around the home and in the classroom can be used to teach science. You don't have to have like this high-tech equipment or really expensive things that you need to grant money for. And it's nice to be seeing these like common household items and then using them because kids can relate to those items instead of like, oh, I don't want to touch the microscope, I'm going to break it. Or
Another thing that I got out of this conference is also teaching kids how to learn is almost as important as what they should be learning too. And in math, we've always tried to incorporate, fractions. And nobody's ever going to remember, as a teacher, they're not going to come back to me years later and say, man, that was a fantastic lesson on how to find a common denominator when we had to add fractions. Really what kids remember about, there's some little story that you told, some little way that you reached out to talk to those kids. And I think I saw that with the crowd here. I know I saw it. I saw the enthusiasm, I saw the dedication by everybody out here that they are really dedicated to putting agriculture in an educational forum to kids. I really saw the enthusiasm, and I really want to bring that back. That's another thing I want to bring back to kind of dovetail off the other question that I had. But it's just so important that you can always put ag and put a twist with agriculture in there. I mean, there's percentages and, again, the fractions, figuring out formulas when you're in equations. We do corn yields then. We do plants per acre when we're figuring that, when we're planting rates and how many acres we're going to plant. And they're going, oh, you're always talking about the farm side of it. But again, it makes them realize that, yes, there is a lot of ag in everything that we do. And I tell them, hey, you're going down to the cafeteria next to eat. How do you think you got there? I mean, how do you think that food appeared on your plate?
And I appreciate those that have websites that now I can go back home and check those out, and business cards that they were giving out so that if I had a question, call me, and just so helpful. So it helps from the top down to us as well, for us to get it out to the students.